Thank you for listening to this Podcast One production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, Podcast One, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah!
Now, here's Steve Austin.
God dang, I got the Smackdown Women's Champion, Becky Lynch, sitting right in front of me. Becky, welcome to the house.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, what brings you out to Los Angeles?
I love the city, and I'm a bit of a gypsy, so I'm always trying to figure out where I want to go, where I want to, what I want to do next, where my next pit stop is. Every town that we go to, I pretty much say that I could live there. But every time I come out to LA, I ask myself why I'm not living here.
Where are you based out of right now?
Orlando.
How you like Orlando?
I like Orlando, and it's okay. So let me take you all the way back. When I was 15, started wrestling. Right, by 18, moved out of home, moved to Canada to pursue wrestling, dropped out of college, was brought over to Japan as the youngest foreign female to wrestle over there, did a little bit over there, wrestled around America a little bit. My visa ran out of Canada, and so I was back home in Ireland wondering what I was going to do with myself, so I started taking up bodybuilding in the downtime while I wasn't wrestling every week because there wasn't as many shows in Europe. So I was doing that, and I was like looking, going, okay, I need to get back to America. I also need a backup plan. At the time, TNA had a great women's division. So I looked, I said, okay, there's a personal training course where I can get my visa to be over in America, and I can have a backup plan, and I can be around a proper hub. But then I ended up stranded in Orlando, not knowing what I was going to do with my life, doing this personal training course, which I hated. And
why did you hate the personal training course?
Because it wasn't what I wanted to do. Because I went from being so passionate about something to then going, okay, I'm going to do this because this is a sensible choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sensible. But Jesus Christ, how old were you? You're only 29 now. I can't believe you've been in the business of wrestling for 12 years now.
Well, I'd given up for 7 years.
Okay.
So then I was sitting there and I didn't have any friends over there, and I was
now,
just
why did you have any friends over there?
I had no way of getting around because I isolated myself.
But I mean, you didn't get out. I mean, just didn't go meet people.
I didn't want to. I wanted to stay and like focus on my diet because I was like, okay, well, I know that if I focus on my training and focus on my diet, well, that would be my thing. But I didn't want to go out and but I had failed PE, right?
You failed PE.
I failed PE.
I just watched you and Sasha Banks rip the roof off the building off NXT. What was it? Takeover, Stopover. You tapped out. What was it?
Unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome match. I talked about them in my close. It's my recommended viewing of the day. So
I had failed PE. So
how did you fail PE? You're a hell of a damn wrestler.
I would just stand there with my.
Did you have an attitude problem?
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
Tell me about this.
So, I just I did what I want, and I didn't want to run. I just showed up, and I didn't want to run, so I'd stand there with my stick in my hand, my hockey stick in my hand, and and I just refused to run. My ma would come into the parent-teacher meetings and just leave in tears.
What kind of student were you?
At that time, I was average. I was average. When I started wrestling, that focused me, and that put me on the straight and narrow. I ended up doing really well.
So did you finish school in Ireland?
I finished school in Ireland, and then I went to college. I studied history, politics and philosophy, but I dropped out of that to go off to Canada and become a wrestler. When
was this point when you decided, what were you, about 5 or 7 years in, you decided this wasn't for you?
I was 3.5 years in.
3.5 years in?
3.5 years in.
So what was this epiphany said, this is not what I should be doing?
It wasn't as much of an epiphany. It was a struggle, you know. It was, my ma didn't want me wrestling. I'd lost my way. I didn't know, you know, I thought, you know, if I look a certain way, that's what's going to get me in. So that's why I started on bodybuilding, and then I dieted down so much. I was depleted. Every bump hurt like nobody's business because I was just a rake. I was, and I just depleted myself. But I still loved it. But I doubted myself.
Well, I was reading about your time on the indie scene. So if you get to the States, or you go to Canada, and you come to the States, and you're in the indie scene, how is that for a single female? I mean, like. I won't ask you about money now, but what is the pay like on the indie scene for a woman back in the day when you were doing the indie thing?
Yeah, you were getting $50 a night, and that was great. Thought I was rich. There was one time when I went over to Japan, and I was getting $100 a night. It was a tour, actually.
You hit the big time.
I was talking to Natalia about it the other day. We were on the same tour, and this promoter, he saw me. I was 18 at the time. I was this little blonde-haired thing, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and he was like, this is going to be my star. And then he was paying me $100 a night. I was like, I have made it. I'm rich. And but actually, from that, then I ended up getting a contract with an advertising agency that wanted to promote me as a celebrity wrestler. And so they actually paid me fairly well, you know. And I remember getting $400 for a match, and that was it.
I went to Tennessee a long time ago, and the first time I went out, you know, I was making $15-20, you know, a night, and then taking long trips, you know, everywhere. I've told this story many times. And then I got a $100 a night guarantee, and that's when I thought I'd really made the big time. So yeah, $100 a night was a lot of money, but back in the day. I'm looking at you right now. You got this red hair. You just said back in the day you were blonde. What is your true hair color?
Brown.
Brown.
Yeah, brunette.
Brunette.
Yeah,
okay.
I get the roots.
So how long have you been doing the red hair thing now?
That was, so the match you talked about with Sasha, that was my debut of the orange hair. Right. Anyways, yeah, before that I was a little auburnish.
Auburnish?
Yeah, but I think when it came out in NXT with the orange hair and the steampunk goggles and that whole style, and that was my coming out party. You know, I think that was when people took notice.
How long had you been working at the time that you started working at NXT?
So I'd given up for 7 years. I hadn't wrestled in 7 years when I came to NXT.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you find Finn Balor to train you?
Finn Balor trained me when I was 15.
How old was he? He's 10 years older than you.
No.
8, 7?
21. He was 21.
21.
He was 21.
And you were 15?
I was 15.
So tell me about what this wrestling school entailed. Like for us, it was first learning how to take a flat back bump, some tumbling, and then a little bit of chain wrestling, and not a whole lot because this is 1 day a week. Finn, I have so much respect for, and I'm looking forward to him coming back from his shoulder injury. So he's very skilled in the ring. What was his basis for training you? What was the regimen? So
when I first started, we just had 6 blue mats on the ground. That was it. And I just come fresh off of watching Tough Enough, where I expected to go in and see these big, giant, muscular lads and this big warehouse, maybe the sign on the thing, and it was just this school hall, St. Andrews down in Bray. And I walked in and there was Finn, and he was, you know, skinny young lad, but full of charisma and everything like that. And it was nothing but, you know, lads with trying to grow their hair out at that stage, you know, the Rocket Kids. And we just went in, and we'd warm up, and then that was it. We learned chain, we learned to bump, and that was all we did for the first while on those mats. I remember we'd take power bombs on those little we'd do little matches at the end of the day.
Did y'all even have a ring with ropes?
Not for the first 3 months. Okay. And then we got that ring, and I couldn't get over it. It was the most amazing thing. So
you're only 29, and I read that you grew up being a wrestling fan since you were a kid. So take me back then to what era was that you were watching? So
I would watch, you know, with Hulk Hogan and The Ultimate Warrior and everything like that. And I fell out for a couple of years. And then my brother would be watching it in the Attitude Era, and what drew me in was actually Mick Foley, because I just would walk past whatever, and I might have made fun of him or whatever, and be like, oh, you know, that's for kids or whatever I said at the time. And I'd walk past, and Mick Foley would be cutting these promos, and I'd feel real sorry for him, and I'd be like, okay, well, just let me know when Mick's on. And then I started watching that, and then I got hooked, and then I was back in 100%.
Who do you travel with?
So I used to travel with Charlotte, but then we got separated. So now I'll travel with Alexa.
Was that for kayfabe?
Yeah. If you really want to know.
Well, I mean, it's still, you still got to protect the business to some degree. So I mean, yeah. Where do you train at? Do you like to go to Gold's Gym?
I like to go CrossFit Gym, CrossFit Paradiso.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you do for your workouts?
So I have a guy out in LA actually, and he does up all my workout plans. So I will usually go in, I'll do some sort of a warm-up, some sort of heavy lift for a while, and then do some sort of CrossFit workout of the day that will have you questioning your life, and then another less intense one after that. So it's about an hour.
So how's your cardio?
Cardio's pretty decent.
You don't blow up, do you?
Try not to.
Okay, you're 29 years old. You've been wrestling 12 years. I looked at a little bit of your medical history.
Well, a 7-year gap.
7-year gap. Okay, sorry about that. A couple of broke ankles.
Mm-hmm.
And what was this deal with this nerve damage in your neck?
So that was my way out when I was 19. Tell you the truth, I got a girl landed on my head. My eye busted open. I got a little bit disorientated, and that was all around the time that I was lost, confused, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. 19 years old, out in the world on my own, and it was just my way to say I can't do this, and I stepped away, and I just hid myself out from the world for a little bit.
Okay.
So I couldn't face it.
Are you truly just a loner?
No, I'm not a complete loner. I like having people around, but I really like my own space too. Maybe I am a loner.
I mean, I am. I mean, it's like I'm fixing to go down to my ranch, and my wife will be there, my friend will be there. But I mean, if I don't see, I love people because I'm in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like hanging around people. But you know, if I go down to my ranch, if I go somewhere, if I don't see anybody for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, I don't care. I'm fine just being in my own company. Would you describe yourself in that same fashion?
Absolutely. I have a limit, you know, and I kind of saw my real name's Rebecca Quinn. I call myself Quinn Dorella sometimes because it comes to a certain stage and I've just got to go, you know, and I've just got to go and I got to be on my own. I just got to be in my own head. And I write a lot. And I feel like I got to go.
Journal?
Yes, I've kept a journal my entire life. And it's really crazy looking back and seeing all the things that you wanted and all the things that you go through and the way that things come out, you know, and you don't always know why you're even doing things, but they always, I don't know.
Are you a glass half full or a glass half empty person?
I'm glad I have a glass, but glass half full.
I'm so happy to hear you say that you keep a journal or just a diary, whatever you want to call it, because I've told so many of the boys and the gals, when I say the boys, I mean everybody in the wrestling business, because I never kept a journal. And one time I was on a flight, and Terry Taylor was over there, and he had all these receipts in front of him. He was doing his taxes, but he's also making notes of everything. And I've forgotten so much of the things I've done, but depending on the kind of career that you can have, and also you can just go back and look at it for memory's sake. But you know, there's a book right there. I mean, that's not the book, but if you remember everything, you know, you've got a hell of a chance and an opportunity to write a hellacious book, and just to remember everything you did in your career. It's also from a business standpoint. Back in my days, you know, I'd always ask the house, "What's the house?" Okay, I get my paycheck, see what I made on the house, see where I was on the card, and got to learn the pay system. So the more you educate yourself to the pay system, and if you keep your records, you kind of, then you know, hey, this might be time to ask for a little bit more money here or there, or whatever. That's a little contract talk. We'll go back to just writing a journal down. How long have you been doing this?
I can't remember not doing it.
All right, to any of the WWE superstars out there, I'm telling you one more time, and I pull certain people aside and say, hey, man, write all this shit down that you're doing so that you'll remember it for later to be able to write a book. So is this a nightly thing, a morning thing? When do you do this?
It's whenever I get the time, whenever I get the focus.
Like on an airplane ride or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just sit down, or what I love to do is go find a cafe and just sit there and just like have my coffee and just sit for a couple of hours. People watch and just write and write everything that's gone down, write everything that I'm feeling and everything that I want and everything that I'm shooting for. And it helps, you know, like, because sometimes, you know, you get in your head and you're thinking and it just puts everything out on paper and it's looking at you and you can just sort everything out. It's brilliant. And my dad used to have me do it when I was a kid, writing down the price of sweets. You know, like I went to the shop and I got a half pound of sweets, and it was however much, I don't know. He just said it was great to look at when you got older, and I've done it ever since.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more. And Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's simple. Go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
Steve Austin. Unleashed.
Are both your parents still around?
There, yeah.
Okay, so what did they think when you took off and decided that you wanted to be a professional wrestler? I know your brother wrestled a little bit as well, right?
Yes, yeah.
So, but you, being a female, what did they think? Because when I got into the business, you know, my mother and father, who are still around, have always been super supportive of everything I've done. But, you know, they knew this was risky and it was going to be a gamble. And, you know, they've always supported me in everything I've done. But, you know, go ahead, we're behind you. And it turned out pretty good. What did your parents think when you decided this is what you wanted to do?
So my dad was always behind whatever I wanted to do. My mom had a tougher time with it. When I first told her, so originally when I told her that I was wrestling, I actually said that I was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Then she found out that I was doing wrestling. She went mad. She hit the roof. It wasn't something that
Why? Because of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was just a form of mixed martial arts, and you're not going to be on the road trying to, you know, make a payday in a squared circle?
Yes, exactly.
More legitimate, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. She just thought, you know, it was just a hobby.
Yeah.
But I guess when it seemed like I was doing something that was going to take over my life, and that was a big thing of me leaving the business in the first place, you know, because I was out there on my own, on my Toblerone, and I was just rambling around the world without a plan. And for any mother, I think you're looking at your 19-year-old daughter who's off in America, who's off in Japan, but with nobody looking after her, and you're like, oh my God, like, stop it, get a job, like, stay here, let me look after you. And that was one of the things when I was on that plane, and at that time I think I decided to quit wrestling, and I was on that plane. I was about to go over to Orlando, and I was in between JFK and the flight to Orlando. I remember calling her being like, Mom, I don't want to go, please, I need to come home, like, just let me come home. I'll get a real job. Just, I need to come home. I'll do a course in Ireland, blah, blah. And she said, no. She's like, you're not coming home. She's like, you've quit too many things. You're going to see this through. And I think that is absolutely the best thing she could have ever done, because ever since then, I've never quit anything without something else to go to.
I'll tell you what, when you turned 18 in my house, I mean, you didn't get kicked out, but I mean, that was the official time where you were an adult and it's time to fend for yourself. And so, you know, I remember starting in the wrestling business, and, you know, I was making $15, $20 a night, and it was my birthday, and my mom called me. She says, we were trying to send you something for your birthday. What do you want? And we come from a very, you know, middle-income family. And I said, Mom, I'll never ask you for money, but if you could send me $40 for my birthday, I sure would appreciate it, because I didn't have shit. So anyway, I got $40. She sent me two $20 bills, and that got me through about a week. But, you know, with respect to, I wasn't going to quit the business. I didn't have a backup plan. What happened when you got lost along the way? Because you got into some issues with a little alcohol and some other things.
That would have been when I was younger before I started wrestling.
A bit of a wild child?
I'm a bit of a wild child.
Tell me about this.
Yeah, I was just...
At what age would you say this... Yeah, okay, she'd give me the look. She'd give me the kayfabe look. Okay, you was a wild child.
I was a wild child.
Let's leave it at that.
I was a wild child.
So how long were you a wild child?
2 years. Yeah, 2 years.
And so just hanging out with friends and doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Concert goer? Are you a music lover?
I'm a music lover, yeah. And
Tell me about this.
Yeah. Oh, so there was a place and all the rock kids would hang out in Temple Bar. That was back in Dublin, and they had like a music centre, and you'd go to gigs every Saturday. And
so, what was the music scene? What kind of music do you like?
Rock, yeah. Okay. I'm a big rock.
Like I'm old, okay, but I'm a hair metal guy. I think that's it's almost like the Attitude Era. I don't think the Attitude Era. The wrestlers have always had attitude. Rock and roll people have always had hair, but I'm big into the hair bands and just hard rock. So, would you be an extreme metalhead or?
More of a grunge head, I'd say. You know, like Pearl Jam would be my favorite band.
Man, I dig Pearl Jam, but I was more of an Alice in Chains guy.
I love Alice in Chains. Yeah. Love Alice in Chains. What's your favorite song?
Ooh, well, from them, Jesus Christ. God dang, sitting in an angry chair. I can't think of the one right now. But have you ever heard of Mad Season?
Oh.
That was some of the members from, I think it was Lane Staley was a lead singer. He's dead now. But I think there's 1 or 2 members from Pearl Jam. And anyway, Mad Season, you got to check that out. Because it's totally in a different vibe than what they were collectively as individual bands. So anyway, enough about that.
Pearl Jam, I just saw them live for the first time.
How were they?
In Fenway. Oh, amazing. Played for 3 hours, like better live. Even better live than listening to them. Just, Eddie Vedder has just got so much soul in his voice. Amazing.
Well, he can sing his ass off. The kid's got a little talent. If he sticks with it, he might make it. What do you watch on TV? Do you watch TV?
Don't watch a lot of TV, no.
Do you watch yourself on TV? Do you break down your performance? I like seeing yourself wrestle.
I hate watching myself wrestle.
It's hard.
It's hard. I can watch myself talk all day long.
Yeah.
I can watch that. Can watch any backstage things, anything that I do where I'm talking. When I see myself wrestling, it's hard for me.
Tell me about your first match, because Finn trained you.
Yeah.
The other guys help out train you. So you go out for your first match. Were you just a ball of nerves?
Yeah.
Were you, or were you just one of those people that was born to be in front of a crowd?
Ball of nerves. I feel like I've always had a way with the crowd, though, a connection with them, but that's never stopped me from being nervous before. I've never. I think there was 2 matches in my entire career where I haven't been nervous, and they were the worst matches of my life. So I always think anytime I'm not nervous, I'm nervous.
How long did it take before you thought that, hey, you know what, I'm pretty good at this?
So I remember the exact moment, the exact spot, and I had just tagged with my brother and I was heel. I hadn't played heel before, and I was 17. I was sitting in this little school hall in Kildare. It was a mixed tag match, and I came back and I was sitting down, and I remember exactly where I was sitting, and he was sitting just opposite me, and I go, Richie, think I can do this for the rest of my life?
And that's when you...
And that's when I was like, okay, I've got something here. And before that, because before that, it seemed like too much of a dream. You know what I mean? It was just a pipe dream, because I didn't have anybody that I looked at that was from Ireland, that was over there, and I'd look at you on TV every Saturday morning, and that just seemed so far beyond my reach.
How did you end up in NXT? Did they call you? Did you call them?
I called them.
So what'd you say?
At the time, I just graduated college. From acting college, I was working as a stunt woman on the Vikings, and I hadn't any stunt experience, but I was like, I was a good wrestler. So let me go down to a school and work on some stuff, and that will help me with coordinating fights and everything. So I went down. I was talking to my friend Joe, who actually was signed to NXT at the time, and he looked at my footwork, and then we talked about promos later, and I told him about how I used to, practice promos, and I'd talk like to myself on bike rides and this, that, and whatever, cutting promos just to myself all the time. And he was like, have you ever gone for a tryout? And I said, no. And he goes, would you? And I go at the time, because I had booked my flights. I'd booked my visa to come over to New York. I was going to, try give the acting thing a go. Didn't really have a plan, as per Beckyism. I was just like, no, Joe, I've got my plan set in place. I'm going to go over to New York and do all that. And he goes, well, think about it, because I think you'd get in. And I thought about it for a split second. And as soon as he said it, I was like, that's it. Because I felt like I was pushing for passions. You know what I mean? Like, I'd done all these little odd jobs in between in those 7 years, and I was pushing to feel as passionate as I was about wrestling, because I knew what it felt like to be really passionate about something. I was doing all these things that I enjoyed, and they were great, jobs and fun adventures, but nothing that I felt pulled me. You know what I mean? With everything, I felt like I was pushing. And as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, that's it. And there wasn't not one doubt in my mind that I was going to get signed. Okay, so you go there. What happens? So I had my tryout. Robbie Brookside and William Regal and JR were there, and Jerry Briscoe and Norman Smiley was there as well. And I remember just going through all the drills and everything. And like, any time I got tired, I was just. A little bit of an embarrassing thing. I'd sing, "Lose Yourself" by Eminem in my head, and I just knew that I'd get in. I knew that was what I was meant to do.
So
I
what did they
absolutely
tell you?
knew it.
Hey, good job, kid. Yeah, you're part of the team.
More or less, they saw the love that I had for it, and they asked me to cut. So they had me cut. I did well on all my drills and everything like that, and then they asked me to cut promos, and I was like, yeah, in the back.
You've been practicing on cutting promos.
Yeah, and then like with the acting background and everything like that, that just helped me. And then
how much did the acting help you?
A lot, I think.
Do you prefer working heel or baby?
At the moment, I like working baby. I'm excited for when I turn heel eventually, though, because I think
when it's time, when it's organic.
Yes.
I did my flip, at 17, with The Rock, and I wanted to turn heel just because I always preferred working heel, and didn't go my way. So anyway, yeah, when it's time.
Yes.
Tell me
when I was on the Indies, never worked baby, hated it.
Really?
Always worked heel. Yeah. So it's weird for me that I came here and was a baby.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
But I just find there's more of a comfort zone working heel because you can trip, you can fall, you can have egg on your face, you can screw up. No, you don't necessarily want to.
Yeah.
But as a baby face, you don't really, you can't, you have to stand for something. Tell me about your connection with the crowd. You said early on you connected with the crowd. Why do you think you were able to do that way back then? Because you've really connected now.
Yeah.
Explain the connection with the crowd, because a lot of people don't get that. One of the things that I loved about your match with Sasha at the pay-per-view we just mentioned was that y'all worked in the ring and you didn't pander to the crowd. You weren't begging people to tune into the match or, yeah, this is the part where you cheer me. It was a straight-up badass wrestling match. Why do you think you connect to the crowd? What do the people see in Becky Lynch that they like?
I think it's that energy, I don't think it's anything tangible, but I think it's a passion, or I feel like because I feel like they're very protective over me, as well, which is another thing. I hear a lot of people talk about how they get a lot of negativity in their social media and everything like that. I can't say, thankfully, that I get much of that. They're very protective, and I think it's just an energy. They know that I'm passionate about this. They know that I've worked hard for this, and I think it's a genuineness. They can sense that or something. They can sense that it's real, because people pick up on that stuff, and they might not know why they like something or why they don't, but I feel like they go through the struggles with me, and they pick up on that, but they know that I can see it at the end of the tunnel, and they can too, and they join me on that journey, and a lot of the time I feel like it's real, you know what I mean? I try to bring a sense of reality into it.
Thank you. It has to be real.
Yeah.
The business is a work, but as real as you can make it be, out there as Stone Cold Steve Austin, I believed 110% every single thing I said and did, and I see a lot of that in you, and I see that in a lot of the women. I mean, it's been amazing to see the progression of what women's wrestling has become over just the last couple of years, and I'm a big fan. I go way back. Well, I was a fan of Glow, and I've just been a fan of women's wrestling in general. But just the way it's progressed has been astounding in the last few years. What did you think when you finally became a champion, the women's Smackdown champion here recently?
It was just the culmination of everything that I'd worked for since I was 15 years old and everything that I wanted to do. But that's where now things get hard. You know what I mean? So it was a struggle, and it was a struggle to get there, and it was overcoming like the reason that I left the business in the first place, not doubting myself and overcoming that, and then finding that and believing in myself and believing that I deserve to be the champion and getting there. But anybody can get to there once. It's maintaining that and then going above. So it's what's the next thing. So now the hard, and it's said time and time again that now it's the hard part, but you go from being underdog to now being top dog. So I need to come up with I need to make everybody want to tune in to see what I'm going to do next. This has to be another level.
Do you eat, live, breathe, sleep this business?
I do, to the point where I think that's a lot of the loneliness in me, you know. I just have to go, and everything will eat me up. If I don't feel like I've done a good job, it will eat me up, because that's all I set out to do, is just do good work and leave a legacy.
What were you thinking the night that Sasha Banks beat you? I guess it was a bank statement that you tapped out to?
Yes.
Okay. Because she left, she took her belt, and she's wonderful, I love her. And she left you in the ring, and those people stood up, and they gave y'all a standing ovation, but they were giving you a standing ovation. And so you lost the match, and you'll hear in the close of my show, you picked up that arm, and you played it perfectly, and you didn't want to, but you were in so much pain, and you tapped out, and the timing was perfect. So then she leaves, you're standing there, and the crowd starts chanting your name. And what I say at the close of the podcast is, and you'll hear this, is that's how you, first of all, it was the baddest match, but that's how you lose a match and get over. You didn't get the belt. That was your goal, to get the belt, but you can get over as much or more in losing a match as you can by winning a match, depending on how you did it. What did you feel that night when you lost the match, but the people were so behind you? Did you feel like you'd made a step in progression of being more over?
No.
No?
No, I don't think...
One thing I was just waiting for you to do, because you didn't signal to them, but, man, they were chanting your name, and I knew you were selling that arm because y'all both work your arm. It's great arm drags in there. So you're selling the pain, but, man, the way they wanted you to let them in a little bit more, and if you'd have just held up that arm and acknowledged them, I think it'd blown the roof off the place.
Ah.
That's just me being an armchair quarterback. How competitive is that women's division now?
It is. It's extremely competitive, and I think that's why it keeps getting better, because nobody can rest on their laurels. You know what I mean? You can't relax for a single second, because there's somebody chomping at the bit, and there's somebody that wants your spot, and I certainly don't want to give that up anytime soon. And you just always want to be the best that you can be. And with everybody being so good at the moment, and everybody constantly stepping up their game, you can't get left behind. You can't relax for a single second.
Sometimes I watch some of the matches these days, and the action's happening a little too fast. The match that y'all wrestled, and you've had many others, your feud with Charlotte, but that match with Sasha, it was the perfect pace, selling everything. She had a mean streak, you had fire. Do you see what I see sometimes when things are happening too fast in the ring, for people who actually register and know what's going on?
Yes.
Are you cognizant of that?
Yes, yeah, and I can be a bit of a speed demon as well. But I also think that sometimes what can happen is that we worry too much about making everything too amazing, when sometimes it just needs to be a simple story that people can understand. It doesn't, like you didn't do like crazy moonsaults, this, that, and whatever. Yeah, well, me too.
Y'all are much better athletes than I was. But case in point, also going back to the Brooklyn NXT match that Sasha had with Bayley, when she tore the bandage off Bayley's arm. Remember that match?
Yep.
And she just worked the body part like y'all did. There was nothing crazy in the match. It was logical storytelling, and there was fire, and then there was a mean streak on the Heat, and there was a great comeback, and boy, they blew the roof off the place with that match so many times. And so I mean, and a lot of it, I know, when it's a live television show, I've been there a million times. All of a sudden, hey, you've got 12 minutes, or you got 2 segments, or you got 13 minutes, and all of a sudden, hey, you got 6. And so you're trying to get 13 minutes of stuff in a 6-minute spot. And not so fast, my friend, because you can go through a bunch of whirly-derv moves, blah, 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 and nobody gets over because it doesn't mean anything.
Yes.
Copy?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And that's been my biggest take home recently, is just keep things simple. Just keep them digestible. Don't try to outthink yourself to be smart and to get like reactions. If you're not, yeah. I like how you women are laying your shit in, and everything looks good. You being from Ireland, you must be a fan of Finley. Oh, absolutely.
I think he's one of the greatest of all time.
He's amazing, and his mind is incredible. Getting to work with him is just. He's phenomenal.
Well, just if you go back and study some of his stuff, just his intent, his mannerisms in the ring. He's total business. And most of the majority of the stuff that I've seen Fit do is as a heel. And he's just malicious, and he's trying to hurt you. And he's very serious. His timing is impeccable. Just the crossface cover on a lot of his stuff is just done with malice. A lot of people emulate that or try to do that, but they just don't do it like Fit. That's because he has that mean streak inside of him. So that's me blowing smoke up Fit Finley's ass. Who has been some of your influences as far as maybe not creating your style, but people that you looked up to in the business, whether it was from a men's side or the women's side?
So Shawn Michaels is one. Dynamite Kid was
amazing.
One of my favorite wrestlers. Sayama Tiger Mask, especially the matches him and Dynamite would have. I used to just watch them on repeat. And then if you want to look at
those were guys that were working really kind of, I dare say, cruiserweight, but a fast style, but with that malicious intent. So they looked like they were trying to hurt each other. Those two guys had awesome chemistry. Keep going.
Oh, absolutely. And then even looking at English style and World of Sport, like Johnny Saint, Mark Rocco, they were some of my favorites as well. Yeah, and then there was Jim Breaks. Jim Breaks. Have you ever seen?
No, I haven't.
Oh, he's amazing.
Jim Briggs?
Jim Breaks. Breaks.
I've got to check him out.
Oh, he's
from World of Sport?
Yeah,
okay.
Because he was a heel, and he was like a little runty guy, and he'd throw these little tantrums.
Did you ever work any matches? Because World of Sport, those are 5-minute rounds.
Yes.
And there's so much psychology to that. And those guys, because I was a big World of Sport fan, I watched a lot of it on YouTube, but there's so much psychology built into those 5-minute rounds. Have you ever worked in the 5-minute round system?
In one of my independent days, yeah, I had a rounds match with a girl called Alison Danger and Shimmer. That was promotion. And that was the first time I've ever done it. But yeah.
What about Medusa? Any influence? Alundra Blaze
was it
in
Alison
WWE?
Danger? No, it was Stacey Hayes. Medusa, yes. I didn't get into her until my older years. Well, when I was actually wrestling.
She was more back in my day, and I always thought. I mean, she was over with all the boys because she was tough as nails and she could work her ass off, and she was phenomenal in Japan as well. On the female side of the current roster, it seems like everybody on that, damn near everybody has chemistry. Is there anybody in the lineup now that you think, hey, they got it going on pretty good?
Oh, that's coming up through NXT? I think Peyton Royce and Billie Kay are two girls they're really good, and only scratched the surface with those two. And then Asuka is phenomenal. I got to wrestle with her in Japan. She was excellent.
Hey, do you like tag team wrestling, or are you a singles girl?
Singles.
Really?
Yes.
I was a singles guy too, and I'll tell you what, man, they stuck me in a tag team with Brian Pillman, and I just fell in love with it. And then it broke us up. So I always want to be a singles anyway. But, it's like when they stick two people who are singles wrestlers together to have a tag match, just because they're trying to get a match on the card or whatever it is, the matches usually aren't that good because there's really no teamwork. In tag team, there's the team in there. So, singles wrestlers don't really make that great of a tag. But if it's an attraction, they'll put them in and they'll book it. When you roll up and you see you're in a tag match, you think, oh, rats.
No, not really. As long as I see myself working, I'm happy. But and that's the thing with tag team matches. I feel like with singles matches, I've got it down where I know, the beginning, how to make it exciting a little bit with the false finishes and everything like that. Then some of the times I look at, like, for example, the Revival.
I love those guys.
Oh, so good.
Dash and American Dawson. They're my favorite tag team right now.
They're incredible.
I don't know if hopefully they'll take them to the main roster. Let me ask you this. You were down in NXT, and then now you're on WWE, Smackdown. What's the difference? I haven't seen Smackdown lately, but in watching that NXT match that you had with Sasha and some of the other stuff that you've done, it seems like there's more creative freedom, or what is it I'm looking for? I mean, it just seems like everybody seems to be more comfortable in NXT. Do you have more creative freedom down there? Or is it more pressure being on Raw?
So, no. Here's what I think. I actually always felt more comfortable on Raw and SmackDown than I did in NXT.
Oh, really?
Yes. The bigger crowd, I'm more comfortable in front of. The smaller crowd, less comfortable. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah. As soon as I came out on Raw, I always felt just like, oh, I'm at home. You know, NXT was less comfortable for me. I don't know why. Maybe it's a smaller crowd. You like getting a reaction might be harder
because you've been around longer.
No. I just always like. I feel like it's easier with a bigger crowd. I don't know why that is, but I feel like it is. But as far as NXT goes, so you're always because you're training there 6 days a week or 5 days a week. You're doing your shows 3 nights a week. And then we've got tapings once a month. You know, so there's more material. Your mind is constantly going and constantly learning new things. So you're constantly thinking. Sometimes with the weekly show, you've got to get it done. You've got a story to go to, and you have to think right there on the spot. With NXT, you've got longer time to think about it, work on different things, and maybe that's why. I don't know.
What's your road schedule right now? How often are you wrestling?
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday. Oh, sorry, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
So about 4 matches a week.
Yes.
And you're based out of Orlando.
Yes.
So you quit wrestling once because you didn't think it was for you, but now obviously I can see the passion in you when you work, and just sitting across the ring the table from you. You must love living on the road.
I love it. Yeah,
because you're a gypsy.
I was just saying, I was like, this lifestyle suits me. It really does.
When you go home, back in the day, I would just kind of never really unpack a suitcase. Maybe it's different for women, but just being a guy, I'm always I'd wear the same shit all the time. And I was in a different town, so, if I was wearing the same stuff, since I'm in a different town, nobody knows what I'm wearing. It was all multiple stuff. It was all clean. But I just, throw my stuff in the washer, put it right back in the suitcase, and boom, get ready to go back out. Do you do that? Or are you a fashionista and you change your wardrobe out?
No, I wish I was, but no. But yeah, with social media, you kind of have to change it a little bit. But no, I'm a little bit like that. So I'll try and mix it up a little bit, but a lot of the time it's just in, out, boom.
When you were down in NXT, you came in. How was Becky Lynch born? And how would you describe yourself? Okay. I say Stone Cold, crazy, hell-raising redneck, anti-authority, Undertaker, the Dead Man, Rock, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, Becky Lynch.
Fiery, stands up for what's right, full of integrity, not to be messed with.
Not to be messed with.
Full of charm, full of harm, and ready to break your arm.
God dang, I like that. Have you used that in the promo yet?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Full of charm, full of harm. That's full of charm, full of harm, and straight fire.
How did acting school help you?
It taught me how to play in a truthful way and find the truth in everything. And I did clown as well. And I actually did my thesis on how clown work helps with bringing out a truthful performance. So I think that was it. Like for example, you look at a little kid and they're playing, right? And they're playing doctors and nurses. That kid believes it's a doctor. And it believes it's a nurse or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And they believe that they've got to save the patient because their life is in their hands, and they really believe it. And I think when we get older, and sometimes we kind of lose that. And also, some people are afraid to make an ass out of themselves. You know what I mean? I've fallen flat on my face more times than I care to remember, but you just kind of get up and you get on with it, and those kids are the exact same way. I think when you get older, you get a little bit more self-conscious. I think acting school helps rid you of those things.
Here's my take on I never went to acting school, but sometimes I see people acting like professional wrestlers rather than being a professional wrestler, and there's a big difference. Because the difference is putting asses in seats and having people believe in you. And for me, because my whole life, when I started watching pro wrestling about 7 or 8 in South Texas, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so I'll go to wrestling school, and I don't know what you were thinking. I never had any big intention of being a gigantic star or nothing like that. I just want to be a pro wrestler. But I was one, and so I never had to pretend. But to this day, in going back to when I was in the business, watching guys pretend to be a wrestler and other guys that were, there's a difference. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's a big part of the connection factor that we were talking about a long time ago. If you're convicted, hey, man, when someone buys a ticket, they're in, okay?
Yeah.
They're in for the ride, and they want to believe. So for me, like I told you a while ago, man, when I'm out there, everything's real.
Yeah.
And so I'm not pretending, I'm being. And when I leave or in life, what do you do? Well, are you one of those pro wrestlers or sports entertainer, whatever these days? I lived it, breathed it, ate it every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, and absolutely. And I think as well, when you go out and you talk on the mic, sometimes people try to perform what it is, perform the words. No, you just talk. How we're talking. That's how people talk. And I think that sometimes happens where people just try to overperform or put too much into it.
Some people overperform, but also some people want to, and this is not an indictment on the system, but sometimes it's almost like people want to be these perfect orators. They want to speak well. I owe everybody a beer. If you listen to the podcast, hear my computer, my phone go off, I just owe everybody a beer. Becky, I owe you a beer. Some people just want to go out there and be the perfect speaker. Sometimes it's not being the perfect speaker and saying all the right things is what's going to put asses in seats. It's if you get screwed out of your Smackdown title, you come back with piss and vinegar and you're mad and you're angry, or someone did this to you or whatever. There's anger, or sometimes there's happiness, or there's a little somber time, or there's it's attitudinal and not necessarily going back to attitude era or I've got to have a bad attitude to come off like a badass. It's a range of emotions, and highs and lows, and how you speak, and sometimes it's rhythm and cadence within a promo, and how you rope people in to believe, and also you have to be convicted in your cause as well. But it's not about going out there and just saying a bunch of words. It's believing in them.
Absolutely, and the other thing is that we're not just one thing, you know what I mean? We're not just going out there and just being pissed all the time, or we're not going out there being happy all the time. Like, we are everything. I am not just always going to be like happy-go-lucky Becky. Right. Sometimes I'm going to go out and I'm going to be pissed because somebody drew a freaking spray paint yellow streak down my back, so I'm going to be pissed. So I'm not going to go out there all smiles and look at me, I'm happy, you know what I mean? But another time I just won the championship, I'm delighted with life, so it is. Or somebody kicked my dog, I'm really sad about it. It's all those things that you just have to remember we're people.
Oh, about another beer. Becky, I apologize for my unprofessionalism. This is the podcast, an award-winning podcast, which ain't never won a goddamn award. I watch my language because I have a lady sitting in front of me. Life on the road, life in the ring, perfection. What do you do when you blow a high spot in the ring?
When I blow a high spot in the ring?
Just keep going?
Just keep going. That's all you can do. Grab a hold. Grab a hold and talk.
Sometimes the crowd will pick up on it, but if you don't sell it, a lot of times they won't see it, or they'll just think it was part of the match or it's supposed to go down that way.
Yeah.
There was many times I've blown a couple of spots. I always hit that Luthez press, but normally the other person was in motion and I would jump up. Well, one time I was working with Triple H and he was in motion, or I was just standing there, whatever. I just jumped up in his arms, and he grabbed me and he was holding me. I was like a big ass teddy bear, and I was like, God dang it! And he fell backwards finally, and I started beating the shit out of him. I was like, God dang it! God dang it! God dang it! And he was down there laughing his ass off. With respect to having your match down, you pretty much mistake free all the time.
No, I make mistakes. I think everybody makes mistakes. Try not to.
What's your thought process?
Try to remove as much room for error as possible, but
and getting ready for a match, you go out there, you do your thing, your signature stuff, you pull the goggles up, you slide in the ring. I used to watch Jake the Snake Roberts, and he would be back there smoking a cigarette. He'd put the cigarette out with his foot, pick up his snake, throw it on the bag, and walk to the ring. Me, I'd pour a bottle of water on me just to get the ashes off because I'm like an albino. I'd go like this with my shoulders a few times to loosen up. I didn't have to get into character. I didn't have to spin myself up. I didn't have to turn myself up to a level. When the glass broke, I was ready. What does Becky Lynch do to prep for a match or just to go out and cut a promo?
Same. I'll just kind of pace back and forth in the back. I don't have a warm-up routine. Most of the time I just warm up on my way down to the ring, because I'm running, I'm full of energy, I'm all hyped. I don't really have a warm-up routine or anything like that, but I will just kind of shake everything out and kind of work on like my footwork, and I'll just like act like I'm about to face somebody, so I'll just be kind of running around, just moving my feet, just like I was in a cage or in a fight, and that's what I do, and then I go out.
Do you do any stretching? Are you, because that one deal, it was a great hold. Sasha put you in. You had the one arm back behind you, the other arm straight, and then she was standing on the arm. It looked fantastic. Feel okay?
Yeah, I felt fine. Yeah, not a bother.
So
is
stretching a part of your regimen?
I do yoga. Yeah, love me some yoga.
How have you done yoga?
At the moment, not so much, just because I've been such a gypsy.
How long have you been doing it?
About 2 years.
Did it help?
Yeah, helps loads.
With what, core or just flexibility?
Flexibility, yeah. So I'm not the most naturally flexible person in the world, but it helps. Yeah, and luckily, touch wood, I've been fairly injury free in my time in WWE. Sprained my hip flexor a couple of times, but that's it.
How do you sprain a hip flexor?
Do you know, I found out that it was always from the top rope drop kick.
Oh, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. You hit a missile drop kick on Sasha that match, and I told Daniel Bryan a long time ago, I said, man, you got to stop throwing that missile drop kick, because that thing takes more of the person giving it than it does taking it. So how many of those are you going to do? I
only bust them out on special occasions.
Okay, so you're picking your spots.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. They're a Christmas time move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just bust that out, and top rope leg drop, I'll bust that out from time to time, but I'm not going up there every match. Also, plus, if I'm doing that every match, it loses me.
How's the house show business?
Attendance? Oh, we were just in Europe, and it was phenomenal. Nearly sold out every single night.
How cool was it? What part of Europe?
We were in Spain and the UK.
So is it cool going to the UK because Ireland's just right there? Do you get a chance to get some family members come see you?
So I stopped off in Ireland on my way there, but it is cool because I normally have friends in most towns, and that's where I started. I was 15, and during the summer there I went over and did my wrestling camps in Kent, in a little
Are you popular in the UK?
Fairly popular in the UK.
Where are you most popular?
Oh, Spain was a hot crowd. Ireland.
Isn't it great?
Ireland, I'm a national hero. I'm just kidding.
I only wrestled in Ireland. I think it was on one tour, and of course, people were it was an amazing crowd because we were sold out every night. It was a very special time, and I hadn't been there enough, but I got a chance to go. Isn't it nice when you go to a place like Spain where you haven't, or maybe the company hasn't been before, or hasn't been very sporadically, so that, I mean, you can watch the first match, it's like, oh my God, these guys are easy. And I mean as a compliment, because you're just so in a fervor to see, WWE, wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. So you have one of those easy crowds. It's like they're popping on a lockup.
Yeah.
Or just a tackle drop down, hip toss, arm drag. I mean, anything, and they're popping. And it's just like, yes.
Yes.
Because sometimes when you go out there, and you've been to these crowds, it's like they came, they paid their money, they're in the building, and it's almost like they're sitting on their hands. It's like, come on, guys. What are you doing? Help me out here. Sometimes
I think that's overexposure, and sometimes you'll get crowds where I'm like, why did you come here? You just want to boo everything, But some of those crowds, it's just they're so excited to see you, and they just want to be interacted with. That's all. They just want to see you. You're this larger than life character. You're Elvis. You know what I mean? And it's like seeing Elvis.
How many years do you think you got in you?
Until the wheels fall off. But at least another.
Stop throwing that damn missile drop kick.
Okay.
Well, again,
only on occasions. Only on occasions. Maybe another 10.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
39.
Yeah.
Have to reinvent yourself a couple times.
A few times. I've got so many ideas in my back pocket.
What do you think when you see the Undertaker show up? That guy We would always kid each other way back in the day to see who's going to last longer. And of course, he outlasted me about 10 or 15 years. It's amazing, and he keeps coming back.
It's incredible. He's reinvented himself so many times, and the American Badass, and then to be able to just come back and get those pops, and to be able to do the matches that he does time and time again.
What were your thoughts on Goldberg coming back?
I was never a WCW person. So I wasn't, we didn't really have WCW when I was growing up, so it wasn't one of those people where I was like, oh my God, Goldberg's back. Much respect to him, and everything like that, but it's not somebody that I was watching going, I can't wait for him to come.
I know somebody you were watching, probably this past Saturday, Conor McGregor.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to see the fight?
I did, yeah. The whole card was amazing.
Well, yeah, the whole card was, but I was just like, man, I really thought Eddie Alvarez was going to bring more than he did.
Yeah.
And Conor looked so much bigger than him.
Yes, and his reach was so much longer. It was like watching two people in different weight class, I thought.
So are you an MMA fan to begin with?
Oh, huge MMA fan.
How long have you been watching?
Yeah, probably... When did I was watching it with Tito Ortiz and Randy Couture and everything like that. Yeah, a long time.
So what do you think about Ronda Rousey coming back to fight Amanda Nunes, who, as you've seen, is she's a badass, good hands. Her ground game is going to be good with the jiu-jitsu background, and I think her hands are going to be so good. You know, it was like Holly Holm was almost unspectacular in all of her victories until she got in the ring with Ronda, and she looked like a superstar.
Yeah.
And then she got beat. She's been 0-2 or 3, whatever it's been since the Ronda Rousey fight. But so what do you think about Ronda being out a year but coming back to face Amanda Nunes, who's pretty dangerous?
Nunes is a beast.
Yes.
Nunes is a beast. I'm a Ronda Rousey fan, but
I am too. I'm an MMA fan, but it's a great story. I'm glad she's coming back after a year. She's had some down times. I'm just wondering how she's going to handle, you know, the storm that Amanda Nunes is going to be and what state of mind she's going to be in with, you know, that was a pretty devastating loss and being gone a year.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, I guess they would have octagon rust just like ring rust with respect. I mean, you're still going to have your training camp and, you know, she's a badass to begin with, but I wonder what she'll change because I would think, you know, after being defeated by someone with good hands and going to face a year later someone with good hands, you know, what she will do.
I think she's going to be working on this striking the entire time, and I think she's had a year to work on it. My money is on Amanda Nunes, though. She is a beast, and I think if she can, and that's the thing. But once Ronda gets somebody down, you know.
One thing about Ronda is, you know, what I love about her mean streak. It's a mile wide, and it's 3 feet wide and a mile long. And if she does get her hands on her, I mean, it was like when Misha Tate used to fight her, and almost Misha that one fight just kept running at her, and every time she came, Ronda would throw her down. And so I was like, what are you thinking? So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting story.
And that's the thing, because even going back to Conor and Alvarez, Alvarez put up on his Instagram post later that he had a game plan, and he just didn't stick to the game plan. You know, so sometimes I think you can go in there with an idea.
You think, in saying that, you think Conor got in his head? Because he did look out of it.
I think Conor wins the fight before he gets in the octagon.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Conor. He's so good at running his mouth.
And he's a badass, too.
He is a badass, and he backs it up. But
when you mentally mess somebody's head up, which I agree with you, he does.
Yeah.
I don't think Eddie knew where he should have won his watch on that fight.
Yeah, and I think actually Ronda was pretty decent at that too. You know.
I was there when she fought. I guess it was Sarah McMahon and you know, an Olympic level wrestler, and she looked nervous just getting into the octagon. And then here comes Ronda, what I call it BMF walk, and she storms to the ring. And this is when she had that 7 or 8 fight win streak, and everything was an armbar. It's like, you know, I just think people were just almost were scared shitless.
Absolutely, and I think people didn't know how to beat her. And then once one person shows that somebody can be beaten,
it's a code breaker. It's a code breaker. But I think she had a ferocity about her, and just when she got her hands on you, I think she has that crazy strength. I mean, I don't think she spends a lot of time bench pressing and stuff like that, but she's just incredibly with that judo background and that base. She can do bad things to people if she wants to.
Yeah.
But going back to the Amanda Nunes fight, I watch every pay-per-view anyway, but it would be epic if she could win her title back.
Yeah.
It'd be a good story.
It would be that comeback, that Rocky Balboa.
What are you going to do when you leave here?
All about the Rocky Balboa. There's a lot of things that I want to do. Obviously, acting is high on the list because that's what I've got. Performing, writing, being in some sort of creative field. I always say that I'd like to own my own little cafe or restaurant or whatever, but then I think about keeping books and this, that, and whatever, and it's probably more of it sounds nicer in my head. But I think I'm just a performer. And that's what I want to do until I can't do it anymore. And I just want to be in the creative field. I want to tell stories. You ever see yourself
married with kids?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Time for that after the WWE.
Time for that after WWE. Yeah. I'd love to.
When's your next shot?
My next...
your next gig.
Survivor Series. But I'll fly out of here on Friday. So I'm not here for very long. Series? Toronto. Yeah. Have some work to do in Toronto on Saturday during the day, and then on Sunday, then I'll have Survivor Series, and we'll beat up the girls from Raw.
So, I mean, like, what's you like the Venice, Marina Del Rey, Santa Monica area out here?
Yeah, I love it. And walking down Venice with all the shops and everything like that is perfect. Just there's always all these different little hubs. I love them.
You got a favorite restaurant?
Yes, it's in Marina Del Rey. It's a breakfast place called Joni's, and they do
right down the street there.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So I was going there because I used to be a flight attendant, and that was when I discovered. And I go there and I get the South Beach pancakes, which are just oats, egg whites, and cottage cheese, and they're amazing. So anytime I'm in LA, I'll go there.
What put the bug up you to decide, hey, I'm going to be a flight attendant?
So my mom was a flight attendant, right, for 29 years. I had just left wrestling, just finished my personal training course. She was handing in her resignation. She'd been with the company for 29 years. She said, will I hand in your resume? I said, yeah, go on. And so she handed it in, and there it was.
Answer me this question. What do they teach you flight attendants when you go to the school, academy, whatever it's called, about staying cool, calm, and collected in the face of what could be devastation?
So that was one of the questions that I asked. So that they teach you how to handle every scenario, you know what I mean? Which actually made me more scared of flying, because then I realized everything that could go wrong. So before I was like sitting on a plane, I didn't know what could go wrong, you know?
Wait, those two motors on each side of the damn wings could quit.
Yeah, and that was all.
But they always teach you. I'll feel a bump, or I can't hear nothing, but I can hear an engine squeaking or something. And I'm like, man, there's something ain't right. Or the pilot will do this and turn, or he'll hit the brakes. And I'm like, man, something ain't right. They took a turn when they just did a flyby. They were going to land, but they didn't. And then the flight attendants are kayfabing. They're no selling, no expression. And they're staying. So what they tell y'all?
Yeah, and that's what there was a period where I went through when I was working as a flight attendant. I was terrified going into work every single morning, and we'd hit turbulence, and turbulence are just like hitting a speed bump in the road.
I know that's what they say, but you're in the air.
Yes, you are in the air, but it's still just like boom, and you'll find your feet. But I'd sit there, and for a period of time, now I'm fine with it, but I used to be terrified, and like people would look at me, and I'm like smiling, dying on the inside.
So, as a flight attendant, do you know like CPR and all that stuff?
Yes,
'cause you got to be trained in all that.
Yeah, got to be trained in all that, and I think it's training that's stood to me with everything else that I've done, especially with timekeeping, which is so important with this job. But
did you ever get a belligerent passenger who said, "Hey, sit your ass down"?
Yes. I remember there was one guy, and it was a flight to Krakow, and he was horrible to me. Wouldn't do. He was sitting in the front row, and I kind of played the damsel in distress role. We were the best of friends by the end of it.
Really?
Yeah, I think he felt bad. I was extremely nice to him. So the ruder he got, the nicer I was, and I think at the end he just felt so bad that he was like, and we didn't get tips or anything, but he was tipping me, and we were besties.
I always get mad when the people say, "Hey man, turn off your iPhones," and because we're getting ready to take off, and then there's somebody in there over text on their phone, or then someone else's phone is ringing. I'm like, God damn, you didn't hear the sumbitch say turn your iPhone off? So does that bother you?
No. because I actually don't think it makes a difference.
I don't think it does either, but I'm like, and sometimes I'm guilty of it myself. I'll just turn my volume off. But if there's some jerk over there and he ain't got his phone off or he's talking on it, and then the flight attendant's up there trying to give a direction, he's talking on the phone, I'm like, man.
Oh, that's just rude.
About a little respect.
Yeah, no, that's rude. No. Now, if people are like talking and everything like that and they're trying to do their safety demonstration, I think that's just disrespectful. But as far as turning your phone off, I even when I was a flight attendant, I used to leave it on the back. It just eats up your battery.
So why'd you get out of being a flight attendant?
I hated it. Not that I hated it.
But you just got in purely because your mom was one? You said, well, if she did, I'll go ahead and give it a shot.
It was like a good pensionable job. When I was 20, I had a good pensionable job traveling the world, but I'd wake up every morning and it was as all-encompassing as wrestling is, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I'd wake up every morning knowing that I couldn't have any really other hobbies, couldn't have any other life, because my life had to centre around this roster, essentially, which was great, was bringing me in money and everything like that, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I felt like I was wasting my life.
Okay, as a veteran in the business of professional wrestling, you're in the business of sports entertainment. All the veterans would tell us, young cats coming in, save your money, kid. And so, are you saving your money?
Yes. I don't have expensive taste. I buy a lot of food. I love my food, but I don't drive a fancy car.
What do you drive?
I drive a 2007 Volkswagen Beetle. And a Volkswagen Beetle was my dream car.
Really?
Yeah, it was my dream car. So now I have my 2007 Beetle. It's got about 35,000 miles on it. It's grand. Does me. I don't need a fancy car. I don't need anything fancy. I don't need fancy jewellery. I don't need fancy clothes. You know, as long as it looks good, they're clean, they function. To me, it's nothing's really ever about the money or whatever. It's just about, you know, doing good work and making art and having adventures. That's where I'd rather spend my money, is just exploring and that kind of stuff. I'm not into.
What's the hardest part about doing what you do, or doing what I used to do?
I think it's just always just trying to reinvent yourself and just find a way that you can be unforgettable and be the thing that everybody wants to see. It's staying on top. I think that's the hardest thing, because you always want to be that top dog, and it's always trying to find the way that you can be that. And I think that can be the toughest. So it's not a physical thing, it's not a time thing, it's not a tiredness thing, it's a mental thing where you're just constantly like, how can I be the absolute best? And
sometimes that's not always in your hands, because there is a booking committee or writing committee, as is now.
Absolutely. But I always think that it is.
Do you?
I always think it is in your hands. Like,
are you vocal and being, hey, you know, someone's going to drop some booking on you and, hey, we'd like to do this, and, oh, that sounds good. Will you chip in and give your 411 or your opinion? Will you take part or offer ideas or alternatives?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But in a business way. In
a business way, yeah, absolutely. You know, and I always try and say yes and, you know, like, yeah. Yes and what if we do this? Yes, and that's good there, but what if we change that word? You know what I mean? And I feel like they're very receptive to that. I feel like so much of it is in your hands. I don't like to whatever it is, I don't like to come back and say, oh, it was a bad crowd tonight. I'm like, what could I do to make that crowd react more, so that they're not a bad crowd? I don't like to say, oh, it's the booking or blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, what can I do with this 2 seconds so that I can get over? When I came to NXT, I couldn't even get a spot as a rosebud. But as soon as I did that, it was like any single opportunity that I could get, then I wanted to make the most out of it. And that, I think, is been the reason that I've gotten that connection with the fans, the reason that I've gotten to be the first SmackDown Women's Champion, and hopefully will continue to carry me on. But sometimes you do have to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. That goes with the territory. But that's it. It's like, okay, this sucks, but what can we do? You know what I mean? Because complaining and you're still going to have to do it. So you can go out, work your tail off, make the most of it. Exactly. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't do it the way that you want it to go and whatever, and you fall on your ass. But you just got to, you know, keep going and keep trying to figure out a better way to do it the next time.
You got anything else you want to talk about?
I think we've covered my life story from me.
Well, I was listening to part of your podcast with Chris Jericho, so I know he covered a lot of stuff. So I said, well, I didn't want to go down the same road, and I knew some of the things that you had talked about, and I read it about you, and it was a short prep because it was lucky that we were able to get this podcast done anyway, because I'm leaving for Texas tomorrow. It was funny. I got a text message from Becky, and it says something about doing a podcast. And she was coming into town like from on the 16th.
Yes.
And I said, Jesus Christ, I'm leaving on the 17th. And she texted me back. Go ahead.
No, it's Becky.
I texted her back, good one. And she said, I popped myself. I give you credit on that one, kid.
Thanks very much.
All right. This is Becky Lynch. Well, I'm not Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is sitting across from me. I'm Steve Austin. We're signing
Jesus
off
Christ.
at 316 Gimmick Street. Becky, you gypsy. Have fun. Go get your CrossFit workout in. Eat a nutritious meal. I'm going to be watching Survivor Series. Who are you working with? Who are you wrestling?
It will be me, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Bella, Naomi, and Carmella versus Charlotte, Nia Jax, Bayley, Sasha, and Alicia Fox.
Oh, man, y'all got your work cut out for you.
Yes, that's a lot of bodies.
Thanks, Becky.
Thank you so much.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
This February on Pluto TV, we're putting the spotlight on iconic black talent. Watch your favorite movies like Top 5, 48 Hours, and More Than a Game. And drop in to binge black TV classics like The Bernie Mac Show and Moesha. Pluto TV has hundreds of channels and thousands more movies and TV shows, all for free. So download the Pluto TV app on your favorite streaming device and start watching today. Pluto TV. Drop in, watch free.
I'm Dave Detman, also known as Dr. Gadget. I've got a new podcast called The Big Idea, and every week I talk to inventors and visionaries who made it big in their respective industries. We'll tackle weekly trending tech, provide inside tips for your success, and go deep dives on the latest and greatest innovations. And I know you're going to love this part. I'll also have plenty of free giveaways. Who doesn't love free stuff? So listen to and follow The Big Idea with me, Dr. Gadget, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast One, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Big Brother Jake, a.k.a. Jake Warner, my government name. Check it out. I host a show called the Big Brother Jake Podcast, and I've taken my talents to the biggest and baddest platform on the planet. That's right, baby. Podcast One. My show is unique as I talk about everything. Life, sports, entertainment, being a single dad juggling several jobs. I'm a hot mess, but it's damn entertaining. Subscribe and review now on Apple Podcasts and listen on Podcast One or wherever you get your podcasts.